Okay, this is video 2 of Cavern Crawl. Let's go ahead and go back to where we were before. Kind of got out of here. Indexed. We actually left off with fixing the encounter. So let's move on down a little bit. That was the travel right there. So then in each of the tables I have an include, which we're going to get to in a minute, but let's skip on past the include and let's look at, we already did the random encounter, and just to kind of go on that a little bit more, the way I did the counters is that I had challenges, and they were based on your level and the player level. Let me actually open up PHP on my admin real quick. And you'll see under the players, of course, they have a level, so we find it. But you'll see it, and then each creature has an actual challenge rating that you can give them. That's not the right creatures. You can see he has a challenge level of 1. So when we go back to the code, you'll see it's the player level. The minimum challenge is the player level -5. The maximum is +3. So if you're level, let's say 5, you could fight between 1 and 8. And you can change these to whatever, you could, if you want just the creatures to just fight level 1 level higher, you would just change these to 1. But then selects all the creatures where the challenge is greater than the minimum and less than the max, order by ran, so it randomly grabs one, tells you encounter or whatever it is, and then it update players, set creature equals a creature ID. I know I told you it's a boolean before, but it's actually the ID of the creature. 0, of course, would be no creature. So that's why if it's greater than 0, no matter what it is, you've encountered it. You still have a creature. And then it tells you to battle. Then it inserts player creature, so it can save the hit points and everything else that each person's fighting. That's where it enters into the PL creatures and adds that. And it adds all the data from the actual creature, so it stays the same. Else, so if there's not a creature, if no encounter, and with an encounter you can add, you found treasure or whatever, this is where you would put it. So you would put, if random event is, let's say, greater than 11 or greater than 10 yet less than 20, so you'd want to go from 10 to 20, or actually 11 to 20, then you could put, well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. Go ahead and copy it. So if it is less than 20 and greater than 10, then you can actually put another event in here, echo found treasure, let's say. And I'm not going to make it look very pretty, I'm just kind of sticking it in there. And I don't know if we can actually hit it or not. It just depends if we can. I tell you what, just to make it easier, let's put less than 60. That way we hit it a lot faster. We need to refresh. Found treasure. See how that works? So let's go in, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment this out so you guys can just keep it in here but not end up running into it. So scrolling down, if we don't have any encounters, and you can continue to add these just by adding more of these. Now we're going to draw our map. I did my maps different on this time. They're a lot faster. Basically, we're going to take our rows, row -1. I'm just setting up for where your -1 of let me go back. So this is your center. So this is column -1. This is column +1. This is row -1. This is row +1. So that way this is -1 -1. This is -1 +1. This is +1 +1. Each one is based off this center square. This is a 9 grid square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Going back, so then you create them. Your north row, north R is row -1, north C is just map C. Basically you're just building, and then northwest would be your west, Your north would be your north, your east, and then your south. And that's all this is doing, is creating each block. Then you're taking map result. You don't want to do a massive hit on the database. So what I've done is I've created one query that goes through every single one of those. So select terrain from, and you only want to select as little as possible when pulling this. But as you add things to the game, you may have to come in here and add. Let's say you want to know the search value of every single square that you can see. Well, then if you have a search field, you just come in here and put search, and that way you're not doing. Don't select all. Select all is just crazy. And anyway, from the player map, wherever the player is located, that way you can actually make several maps, all with 3,600 locations. Where map R equals, then you got your northwest, and then it unions the rest of this. You're directly north, your northeast, your west, and it goes all the way down. Then your center is right here, and it puts it all into this nice little query right here. So whenever you create the grid, while this is possible, it's going to come in here and create the grid, and it's going to put that terrain, whatever the terrain is, in there. So if we come over here and look here, we will see, if we go to map, but that's called it New Terrace just for a name, you'll see that's the terrain. And if you go into your actual Cavern Crawl images, if we go into our actual terrain, you'll see that I just numbered them. Makes it a lot easier instead of actually trying to name them. If you just number them, that way you can use an integer for your actual database, and it makes it a lot smaller too. So 50 equals, and then what it's doing is it's actually creating, whoops, it's actually creating 50.png, and that's how it builds it. And then it's just building the grid plus 1, and it just keeps building until it builds all 9 squares. Pretty simple, actually. Just to kind of give you another example of what I'm doing here. This terrain has 30 by 30 squares. So if we look at the actual number on that, you're looking at a possibility of 900 locations just in one map. Now you can come in and create another map and have 900 more, and what you'll do is whenever that player leaves there, it's going to actually add, you just change the name of it, and it'll pick it directly up and name it. And to give you an example, you don't want to make your nice name the same as your database, because if you have spaces and everything, so I make a nice name that you actually would print out on the screen for the people, for the players, and then an actual database name. Now let's go back. So we move on down there. We've got a couple, another include, which I'll show you here in a minute. Here's where that if level up equals 1, and then you actually level up, and I haven't really done a whole lot on that yet, but we'll maybe get to that, or you can add in your own. I left this down here. This is how you build your map. So let's say you want to create a new map called New Forest, let's just say. You can uncomment this, and if you want it 60 by 60, you change this to 60, this to 60, and it'll be a 60 by 60. You just uncomment it, run it, or actually cut it out of here and call one called Map Builder. Just don't leave it on there, because somebody will end up running it. But it'll create a brand new map already ready to go, and you can come here and actually make your terrain. I made them all 1, that way they're automatically a regular block, a 1, but you can come here and do whatever you really want on that.